With the 30-day ceasefire deal, Vladimir Putin had three options: accept it but lose momentum on the battlefield, reject it and risk angering Donald Trump, or try to drag things out so he could keep fighting for as long as possible. And as the Telegraph reports, he chose option 3. By paying lip service to ending the war, he hopes to remain on good terms with Trump. But this mention of nuances that need to be discussed should be a wake-up call, the newspaper notes. This is a classic Russian negotiating tactic. By breaking down each proposal into an infinite number of component parts, he tries to appear cooperative while playing for time, dragging out the negotiations and trying to use the facts on the ground to squeeze out as many concessions as possible. The article says, now Trump and his administration face a test of nerve and authority. In particular, they could ignore Putin's excuses about nuances and demand that he cease fire immediately. This would mean showing the same impatience and coercion they used on Volodymyr Zelensky. Such tactics could include the imposition of a tough sanction package if Russia does not comply. Putin is far more invincible. He is losing up to 1,000 troops a day. His economy is overheating and, on his current trajectory, he will face serious domestic problems by 2026. If the Americans start to get tough, he will probably give in, the Telegraph stresses. However, if the US drags Putin into a detailed discussion of the details, it will in fact repeat the mistakes made by previous US presidents. At the same time, Putin already made it clear what cards he will play in these negotiations. In effect, he said, if you want me to stop the violence, you better have a really big carrot to offer me in exchange. He also raised the question of who will monitor the ceasefire, who will monitor violations, and who will be blamed. These debates could drag on for days or weeks, the Telegraph notes. The fighting may, contrary to expectations, end this weekend. But if it does not, Putin will try to lure the Americans into open-ended diplomacy, using force to wring maximum concessions and lay the groundwork for blaming Ukraine if and when the talks break down, the article stresses. US President Donald Trump has said America could do devastating things to the Russian economy to pressure Moscow into accepting a peace deal with Ukraine. At the same time, analysts told Newsweek that there is a limit to what Trump can do to try to reach an agreement with Russia. Despite heavy economic sanctions from the West, Russian dictator Vladimir Putin has been waging a full-scale war in Ukraine for 3 years, experts say. Putin's reaction on Thursday to the 30-day ceasefire proposal proved that Russia will not be easily outmaneuvered, as he made it clear that he would only be prepared to agree to a deal if it included terms that Kiev would find difficult to agree to, the article emphasizes. Analysts say the best option is probably to increase pressure on Russia's oil and gas exports, which are the country's main sources of income and help pay for the war. At the same time, energy experts say tougher sanctions on Russia's energy sector will anger Russia and require continued cooperation with allies at a time when Trump is openly feuding with Canada, the EU, and others over tariffs. Newsweek added that Trump likely acknowledged this dilemma in his words, emphasizing that the US could take destructive measures against the Russian economy.
Russian President Vladimir Putin met with U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff to discuss details of the American proposal for a 30-day ceasefire in the war with Ukraine, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Friday. According to Associated Press, Putin asked Witkoff late Thursday to give additional messages to U.S. President Donald Trump, Peskov told reporters, after the Russian leader said he supported a truce in principle but set out a host of knotty issues that need to be addressed before it is agreed. Ukraine, under severe military pressure on parts of the front line after 3 years of conflict, has already endorsed the proposal. Russia's army has gained battlefield momentum, and analysts say Putin likely will be reluctant to rush into a ceasefire while he feels he has an advantage. The Russian army, backed by North Korean troops, are now reportedly driving Ukrainian forces from their foothold in Russia's Kursk border region. A possible phone call between Putin and Trump to settle outstanding ceasefire issues could be arranged after Witkoff delivers the messages in Washington, Peskov said. There is an understanding on both sides that such a call is needed, Peskov said. There are certainly some grounds for cautious optimism, Peskov said of the ceasefire proposal. A lot still needs to be done, but the president has shown solidarity with President Trump's position. He dismissed an NBC report saying that Keith Kellogg has been pushed aside from his role of Trump's envoy on Ukraine on Moscow's request, saying that Russia wouldn't meddle in U.S. internal affairs. Commenting on nuclear talks between China, Russia, and Iran, Peskov said that Russia proceeds from the fact that Iran has the right to develop peaceful nuclear industry.
Точное время разговора двух президентов пока не согласовано. Но вместе с тем, после того, как господин Уитков уже всю информацию, полученную в Москве, доведет до сведения своего главы государства, уже затем будем определяться со сроками проведения разговора. Понимание, что такой разговор нужен, есть с двух сторон. Безусловно, есть основания испытывать осторожный оптимизм. Вы слышали вчера очень важное заявление президента